Hey, hi, hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Shannon and today I am bringing you something I am so very excited about. In this video, I'm going to read 3 books from BookTok that have been overly hyped. I'm also going to make 2 things I have seen on TikTok that I have wanted to try. So for the books, we have It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides, and We Were Liars by e.Lockhart. And for the food, we have garlic sesame seed chicken and Dagona Coffee. So this is the things that I'm going to be trying in this video. I'm going to be trying these 3 books, these 2 recipes, I take it, because recipes, because coffee counts as a recipe. So this is what this video is going to be. I'm going to be rating books and rating some recipes. So hopefully you will enjoy this. I hope that you like this kind of format. I'm still kind of learning how to do other stuff that doesn't require me to sit down and talk to the camera. Like while I was cooking, I was trying to figure out the best way to film it and to slice it all together. So I've learned from my mistakes, and next time I think I'll do things slightly differently. But I hope you enjoyed this first iteration of this kind of video. I do plan on doing more of these in the future. If you have any recipes or books that are overly hyped on TikTok or BookTok that you would like me to try, please leave them in a comment down below and I will try and get to some of them. And without further ado, let's get into this video. Hey, so I'm popping in here because I finished The Silent Patient and I gave this 3.5 stars. I don't really think this is worth the hype that it gets. I've seen this all over BookTok, all over my Instagram, even my Kindle recommends it to me all the fucking time. And even though I enjoyed this and it was a very enjoyable read, I didn't think that it was a 5 stars. I didn't think it was this mind-blowing thing that I thought it was going to be. In The Silent Patient, we follow Alicia Bernerson, and one day she just shoots her husband dead. Just bang, 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 dead. And then she doesn't speak for 6 years. And she's just silent, she's just mute, she says nothing, she tells no one why or like anything, the reason why she'd done this. So yeah, that is the original synopsis I went off of while picking this book up. I avoided all spoilers so that it was an authentic read for me to give you my thoughts on. So originally going into this, I was wondering whose POV we would get, because I didn't feel like we would get Alicia's POV because she's mute, she's silent, she doesn't say anything. So how would we be able to, we could get her inner monologue, but then if someone is talking to her, there would be no conversation back because she doesn't talk. So I felt like it would be quite hard to have Alicia as the main point of view. We didn't get Alicia as the main point of view. We got Theo, who is a psychotherapist, and he has a job, but he kind of follows Alicia's case, and the only thing that Alicia does after she commits this murder of her husband is she draws a painting, and everyone wants to see this. It is the hype of the town, all the media, there's lines around the block to see this right after the murder. But Theo just has this pull towards Alicia, has this pull towards this painting, and wants to help her. So he transfers jobs from his original job to the Grove where Alicia is and tries to help her, essentially. But Alicia's pretty drugged up when he first arrives, so we go through the normal kind of things of, like, he tries to get her dosage right, tries to get her talking, and we follow this for a while. And also we get quite a lot of Theo's life, which I wasn't expecting. I really enjoy things that take place after the murder, after a murder, because I feel like it just adds depth to it. But this felt very strange to me because I was interested in Alicia's story, but I got a lot of Theo's story instead. And I think that took down the enjoyment a little bit for me, even including the ending. I was still like, yeah, I could have done with less Theo, you know, like, fine. But the one thing I did like was the kind of detective investigation thing that Theo had going on. He looked into friends, family, court documents, notes, like he did his research to see how he could help Alicia. And you really do believe that, like, he's capable of helping her. Then we get the other point of view, which comes from Alicia's diary, which is leading up to the murder. So we have Alicia's diary that leads up to the murder and the 6 year after timeline after the murder where she doesn't talk and Theo's trying to help her. And in this diary, it's very interesting because Alicia seems like this very nice person. Like, she doesn't seem like a killer, and I guess, like, no one ever seems like a killer until they kill, and you never know what someone's capable of until they show you. In the words of my favorite crime podcast, Crime Junkie, you never truly know who you're sleeping with, or who you're married to, or who your friend is. Like, you never really know someone deep into their core. And I believe that when we get Alicia's story through her diary, I do think that it builds up her character so much, and you see all of these things come to light, and it starts descending into a little bit of paranoia, anxiety, and this leads up to the murder. So you think, all right, okay, like, at one point she feels like she's being watched, and you're like, maybe something, like, maybe it was an accident, maybe she thought there was an intruder. Like, there is points where you're like, oh right, okay, so maybe this could happen, maybe this could happen. But as we go along, I started to get like little predictions here and there. I'm going to go into a little bit of spoiler here, so if you don't want to be spoiled, wait until the spoiler warning is off the screen, and you won't be. So throughout the book, I started to feel like Theo had too much interest in this case. Like, I get wanting to help someone, especially if you're a therapist. Like, if you're in that field, this would be great on your record. It would be a great look for you. But also at the same time, like, there could be a lot of potential money aspects as well. Because, like, you could get a book deal and everything. But at the same time, I just felt like he was too invested. He was looking for too much answers. And at one point, I thought to myself, what do you have to gain from this? Because he didn't really seem excited about the prospect of a book deal, or any other things. He just wanted to get her to talk and find out what other people knew. So it just seemed to me that he had another stake in the game, even though I did not guess the twist. And to be fair, I will give the twist its due. It was very well done. I really enjoyed the twist. I did think that I wanted more from it. I wanted, like, a big impact. Like, the twist after it happened was like, oh, okay, fine. That was pretty well done. But it wasn't like what I was expecting from all the hype this book has. It wasn't like in my face, bam, like, oh my god, and then bam again. It was like, okay, this is the twist. Oh, that's interesting. That's pretty sneaky. That's pretty smart. And then the next thing that happened was, oh, okay. That, like, and that's not what I wanted from this book. The twist being that, of course, Theo's wife, Kathy, is cheating on Theo with Alicia's husband, and Theo follows him home one day, like, ties Alicia and her husband up, and like holds a gun to the husband's head and is like you or her, die, pick now. And the husband's like, I don't want to die. And Alicia's like, what the fuck, like, you're throwing me under the bus? And then Theo's like, yeah, well, just so you know, Alicia, your husband's been sleeping with my wife, and like, he doesn't care about you because he would choose his life over yours. And then he unties her and walks out the door, and Alicia picks up this gun and just right into her husband's head. Of course, like, how accurate this would be, I suppose, like, in this situation, Alicia felt betrayed more than once, and I kind of get why this would result in the murder, but I just wish that there was like another undercurrent that was going through it. Theo was the one that she's seen outside her house and was a little bit scared of. I wish that maybe, like, his obsession with her, like, continued all the way throughout, and I think that it dropped off at like the ending point where we found out the reveal. And it would be interesting if we found out the reveal, Alicia revealed to Theo that she knew who he was, and then he like kind of still forced her to be his patient, and the whole time it's like for the last 50 pages it's like back and forth of them like hashing out, her asking all her questions, him asking all his questions, and then like a big twist at the end is like one of them ends up dead. Would have been pretty cool. At the end of this book I did end up enjoying it, and I just think that it would have done well with some of the predictability taken out. I think if Theo took a more of a back step and a more blasé attitude, it wouldn't have came across as like suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. So overall, I did really enjoy this book. I get why people really love this, and I wish I loved it just the same. But again, this was a 3.5 read. It wasn't the best thing. It wasn't the worst thing. It was better than middle of the road because of that twist. If it wasn't for that twist being so good, it would have been a 3 stars. But I bumped it up to 3.5 because I really enjoyed the twist. I just wanted more from this story, unfortunately. So to answer the question, is this worth the BookTok hype? I believe it's not. I don't think it is. I think it's worth average hype. And I think that if you love this, great on you. Glad you love this. If you fall on the side that I fall on and was a little disappointed, then comment down below and let me know what disappointed you from this book, because yeah, it just wasn't worth the hype. But the next book I am on to is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. This is another book that I've seen super hyped on BookTok, Instagram, Kindle, so I am very excited to get into this, and I will come back to you once I have read this and have thoughts, and I will answer the ever-present question, is it worth the fucking hype? Hopefully this one will be, because The Silent Patient just wasn't. But until then, I will go read.
I guarantee you're going to want to ditch the takeout after we make this honey garlic sesame chicken. This sauce is to die for, and you're never going to want to order out again. Dice up your chicken into 1-inch cubes, and for our sauce, we're going to do soy sauce, honey, rice vinegar, salt, pepper, garlic, ginger, and some brown sugar. Stir it up, and then we're going to add some cornstarch and water. Next, add your oil to your pan and bread your chicken in cornstarch, egg, and then flour. I use gluten-free flour, but you can also use all-purpose. We're going to fry those up until they are beautifully golden brown and crispy, and we're going to add our sauce and flip. Serve it on a bed of rice with some sesame seed and green onion, and you are done. I hope you enjoy.
Baby, I've been going nowhere lately. It's time to start all over and go for it. 'Cause they don't even know me yet. But that's something I don't regret. Every night I close my eyes and see only lavender dreams, baby. What can I do when a million things are running through? Million things I can't undo. I just sleepwalk, I just sleep talk. That's all I got. What can I say when...
Heyo, so I am back because I finished It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, and I've got to say I really enjoyed this book. In this book we follow Lily, who is 23 years old and wants to open her own bouquet business, and she does just that. And we follow her as she meets new people, one of them being Alyssa, who becomes her close best friend, and also Marshall, Alyssa's husband. We then meet Alyssa's brother, Ryle. Lily has already met Lyle before because one evening when they were both down on their luck, they played a game of Naked Truths, and they haven't seen each other since. So when Ryle shows up, Lily is a little starstruck, I guess, and this kind of throws them into situations where they're together because she's friends with his sister and his sister works for Lily. But they both want different things, and Lily is quite determined to make sure that he knows that going in, because she doesn't want to end up hurt and alone like when she was 15, which is the second timeline we get. We get like diary entries from Lily when she was 15 years old, when she fell in love with Atlas, who was her first love. Atlas was 18 and living in the abandoned house next door to Lily, and together they kind of became best friends that slowly blossomed into love. And I expected to go into this book and it to be Atlas comes back and Ryle is already there and Lily has to choose between the two loves of her life. And even though this book is exactly that, it goes so much deeper than I expected it to go. This book is very emotional, and I knew that it was emotional going in because I've heard that it is, but I didn't expect it to go so deep. And I think that the emotional value that these characters had, along with the storyline, just added like so much emotion that it was hard not to like this book. And I think that everyone has their own kind of feelings towards this book. And I found myself really not resonating, but I felt myself reflected in Lily and quite a few of the predicaments that she's put in and quite a few of the thought processes that she's had, not unlike my own in some situations. So I really felt this kind of camaraderie with Lily, and I wanted her to be happy and live her life and have a successful business. So when things started to turn in this book, I felt really bad for Lily and got emotional. I think I did shed a tear or two towards the end of this book, but I do think that the characters in this book were all so well done. They were so unique and well written that none of them really felt 2D. They felt very fresh, and it was nice to like be a part of this circle. Also, Alyssa and Marshall, like I love them. They can get added to my basket because they're friends that I would like to have. And also their characters, even though the characters were side characters, they did play a big part in the story, and I ended up loving the side characters so much that they became like two of my favorite characters from this book. And Marshall didn't even say much, but what he did say was either funny or meaningful in a way that just made him likable. And I don't know if it's like just how my mind works, but I imagine Alyssa and Marshall to be like Lily and Marshall from How I Met Your Mother, just more rich, I guess. But like that's the kind of vibe they give off. They give off that vibe that like they're quirky and fun to be around. And I was so happy that Lily got these friends just as she was starting this business and got the help she needed. I'm going to go into a little bit of spoilers here, so if you don't want to be spoiled, wait until the spoiler warning is off the screen and you won't be. This book deals with a lot, and when I say it deals with a lot, I mean it deals with a lot. We follow Lily as she falls in love with Ryle, and even though at the start you could really root for Lily and Ryle to be together, you realise fairly quickly as the narrative goes on that they are really not good for each other, and Ryle is honestly a bit of an asshole. Ryle is an extreme asshole, and Lily just could do so much better. Also, I'm just going to put in here trigger warnings for domestic abuse and abuse in general, just because this story follows Lily when she's 15. You see in her diary entries that she grew up with her dad being very abusive to her mum, and her mum kind of just taking it, and Lily has a lot of resentment and anger built up to her mum for not leaving when she felt like she should. But as Lily and Ryle's relationship goes on, Ryle becomes aggressive and abusive towards Lily, and you watch the inner turmoil that Lily goes through at these assaults and attacks because she watched her mum go through them, and she's fighting herself all the way through, like, and she starts kind of maybe realizing more of how her mum handled the situation and how it's not as easy as what people think it is to leave an abusive relationship. And I just found so much strength in Lily's character, even though there was a few times that it happened, and I wish that Lily had obviously left the first time that it happened. But the thing is the things that Lily was thinking and feeling were totally valid, and At one point in this book, I think I have it tabbed somewhere. So it says, I read somewhere once that 85% of women return to abusive situations. That was before I realised I was in one. And when I heard that statistic, I thought it was because the women were stupid. I thought it was because they were weak. But sometimes the reason women go back is simply because they're in love. I'm a statistic now. Oh, and if that doesn't hit your heart like it hit mine, I feel like Lily just kind of dealt with the situation how she was equipped to deal with it. And I think it was written very well, both the relationship that she's seen her mum and dad have and the relationship that she had with Ryle. I think it was handled really well in this book, and it wasn't shamey or victim blamey. It was very much the struggle of how someone can get trapped in this kind of toxic, abusive relationship without realizing how bad it really is. And I just felt for Lily so much, and I think that's part of the reason why I resonated so much with this book, was because I felt a lot of the things that Lily felt. And obviously because Atlas comes back into her life as an adult and sees her go through this kind of experience with Ryle, he's also really worried. And I think it makes Ryle come off, like, even though he comes off bad anyway, paired next to Atlas, who comes in and cares for Lily and wants Lily to be successful and happy and not in a bad situation, like, it just makes Ryle all that more worse, because you've got Atlas, who's like knight in shining armor, and then you've got Ryle, who is abusive and angry and quite selfish. So like it is like black and white. It's like night and day. It's very different. So I liked that though. I liked that the goodness in Atlas reflected just how bad Ryle was, and that's maybe what Lily needed to see. Lily needed to see Atlas again, to see how far she'd really fallen from who she once was and what she once thought. And I really enjoyed that about this book. So yeah, like, I immensely enjoyed this. I would highly recommend it, but I would also suggest going into trigger warnings and content warnings to keep yourself and your mind safe, of course. But if you do want to continue with this book, I highly recommend it. It's a 5 stars. It's a favourite. I absolutely adored this. I will definitely be picking up more Colleen Hoover in the future. If my experience with this is to be replicated, I hope, then that will be like a good time, and hopefully find another favourite from this author. But yeah, like, definitely worth the hype, definitely should be everywhere. Like, I'm glad I picked this up. This was actually on my self-destruct pile because it had been on my shelf for so long, years and years, and I love the fact that a book that's been on my shelf for years and years that I haven't picked up yet and was potentially going to have to unhaul if I didn't get to it, I love the fact that it can still surprise me and be a favourite. And I'm so happy that I read this before having to unhaul it, because it just means that all the other ones on my self-destruct pile might have the chance to become a favourite, just like this one. And I love that. So yeah, I love this, highly recommend it, definitely worth the hype, and I hope if you pick this up you love it too. Let me know in the comments if you've read this and what you think about Lily and Ryle. Also, if you've read this and know where I'm coming from with the Alyssa and Marshall, Lily and Marshall kind of reference or like reflection, please comment down below, because I feel like I can't be the only one that's made this like mental connection in my head. But yes, so now I'm gonna go read We Were Liars by e.Lockhart, and I will come back to you once I have finished that and tell you my final thoughts on all 3 books that I read for this vlog, and also tell you about We Were Liars. Hopefully I enjoy We Were Liars, because I'm a bit hesitant on that one because I've owned it for so long and heard so many things about it. I just feel like it's a setup for disappointment, because I don't think it's going to live up to that kind of hype. But I guess you're just going to have to watch and see if it really does.
lavender dreams, baby. What can I do when a million things are running through? Million things I can't undo. I just sleepwalk, I just sleep talk. That's all I got. What can I say with a million things I can't erase? Million people I can't save. I just sleepwalk, I just sleep talk. Don't wanna wake up.
So I finished We Were Liars by E.Lockhart, and I have some thoughts. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this to an extent. I will say that I do believe the hype for the twist in this book ruined the twist for me. I knew it was coming. I felt it coming. I had my own kind of like I had my own clues and my own thoughts, so when the twist did come, I was underwhelmed. In this book, we follow four liars. We have Candace, who is the narrator who narrates this story, and then we have Mirren and Johnny, who is family, part of the Sinclairs, and then we have Gat, who is part of the Sinclairs but isn't necessarily blood. He is taken in from, like, he's a step grandchild, I believe. And in this, we follow the Sinclairs as they are on their private island because they are gloriously rich. And I find that the story itself was quite interestingly told. The way this story was told was stunted, but it was also lyrical in a way, which was interesting. I can't say it's a writing style that I've ever seen before, and I think that's why I gave this a 3.5 star, and I think that's why it was just better than middle of the road for me, because the writing style was so unique. I would definitely read something from this author again based solely on the writing style, and I'm glad that I picked this up. And I think of the twist. So in this, we follow the liars as they spend time on their private island, but Candace has an injury that leaves her with kind of amnesia about certain times in her life. So when Candace returns to the island, to the liars, it is very emotional, but also at the same time, because the way the story's told, it kind of is less emotional and more fact driven, I believe. I don't know how to explain the writing style of this. It's weird, but it's good weird. And I'm going to go into a little bit of spoilers here just because I need to. The whole twist is that Candace, when her injury happened, it's because she set fire to one of the houses on this private island. Her and the three other liars set fire, and in this fire, the three liars perish, and Candace is the only one living. Now, because I knew going in there was a huge twist in this book, I expected something. And the whole way reading through this, there was things that kind of didn't tip me off to that much of a plot twist, but I did think there was obviously things being hidden. And even though I didn't guess the plot twist, I just expected it to be more. I expected the shock twist to really, like, punch you in the face, but it didn't, and I don't know why. And like, there was little things like one of the mums is going around the island, and all of the mums essentially are drinking more and being more affectionate with each other. And then there's the fact that Candace is living in one of the houses by herself with the three liars, but we know afterwards that the three liars aren't there, and that it's like a kind of her mental health that is envisioning them there. And even though I just feel like the build-up wasn't there, like I don't know what it was. I was expecting the twist, which made it a little less desirable, and it just felt like we turned a page and we got told the truth, and it was very much like, oh yeah, the three liars died in a fire, and it was because they all set fire to this one house, and Candace has been seeing them. Like, there was no, like, build up. There was no... I wish there was more emotional standing when we find this out. I wish we got more from Candace speaking to the liars in her mind. There was things peppered throughout this that made the twist good, because obviously the mums being together and more affectionate towards each other. Also, the mum going around being sad, Candace living in the only house by herself, but the house is always a mess because like no one's cleaning it, and you're under the impression that all 4 layers are here and that's why, but really it's just condensed. And it was good, it was really good. It was better than middle of the road. It was well told. I just don't know what it was. Like, it didn't give me the effect that I wanted it to. I enjoyed the writing style. I'll definitely pick up more from this author. I think it was well told. I enjoyed the twist, but it just wasn't enough. Unfortunately, I just felt like there was something missing, and unfortunately I can't pinprick what was missing for me, and that infuriates me. But also at the same time, I think it's just a case of a few things adding up to make this just better than middle of the road. 3.5-star read. I think there was a few things that could have been done and it would have probably been closer to a 4 stars. But yeah, I enjoyed this for what it was. I'm glad I read this and got it off my TBR, which I'm very happy about. And I definitely want to read more E.Lockhart just to see this writing style again, because it is so unique, and I'm so glad that I picked this up. And yeah, I mean, it's not worth the hype in my opinion, but I get why it's hype. So for me, like, The Silent Patient wasn't worth the hype. I liked it, it was fine, but it wasn't worth the hype. It Ends With Us, completely worth the hype. Amazing, loved it, 5-starred it, great. This wasn't worth the hype, but I get why people hyped it up. I get why people loved this. This was well done, well written, the twist was really well done, but it just didn't do it for me, unfortunately. So even though I tell you this is not worth the hype, I get why it's hyped. And if you're interested, it's a very short read, and it's a very interesting, unique writing style. So read it if you want to see where I am coming from. But let me know in the comments if you felt the same about this book, and let me know if you've read any of these and if you think they're worth the hype or not. That is it. That is all I have for this video. And can I just say, this was such a fun video to make. I had so much enjoyment making this. I hope you enjoyed it too. I hope you got something out of it. Just to quickly reiterate, I gave The Silent Patient a 3.5 stars, I gave It Ends With Us a 5-star, and I gave We Were Liars a 3.5 stars. I also really enjoyed the garlic sesame chicken, and I will be adding that to my recipe book. And the Dagona coffee does indeed work, and if you've done what I did and add a little splash of your favourite flavoured syrup, it really amplifies the Dagona coffee. Also, the hack of putting everything in a bottle and shaking it up, brilliant, absolutely ingenious. So I had so much fun reading these books, eating this food, drinking this coffee. I hope you enjoyed this video. I do plan to make more of these in the future. Let me know if there's anything you'd like to see in these videos, and I hope you have a great day, great week, great weekend whenever you're watching this. Remember to stay safe, happy and healthy, and I shall see you next time. Bye.